There was a long time when without my checkbook, the light would have cut off at HQ. The phone would have cut off. 2008, that contest at Arena, when we got there, they wouldn't let us in because they said money had been owed from the previous year. It's my personal check for over $1 million was drawn to allow the contest to take place that day. These are things that I probably have not said before publicly. But if them want to face it with me, then I'm going to give them facts. Comrade Chairman, Comrade, colleague, members of Parliament, Comrade, caretaker, members of Parliament, Comrade, Mayor and former mayors, Comrade, former MPs, Comrade councillors in waiting, comrades of the Knockpatrick Division, comrades all. I want to start out by thanking everyone for coming out this evening. It looks like a little more than an average divisional conference. And I wanted us to make it very clear, it is coincidental that we're having this conference today. This was said long time ago, long months ago, when we had no idea that it would coincide with a certain declaration. So this is not a launch event, and I don't want anybody to be inadvertently drawn into a launch event. But since we are on the day and it is topical, I think you will excuse me if I say a couple of things. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. So first of all, comrades, I just want to say that the declaration of intent to offer myself for nomination for President of the People's National Party is not something that was a calculated decision. You know, people, because I'm an engineer, people think I calculate everything. I didn't go through every constituency and try and figure out how many delegates and whether somebody supported me or not, and try add it up. Because arithmetic is an important thing for a politician. But not every decision you make is based on arithmetic. Some decisions are made because you feel called to make that decision. And this was a decision that I felt called to make. Now some say that this is about my personal ambition. Now what is interesting is that I have never had to contest a single position that I have held in the People's National Party up to now. Why is that? Because each time I offered myself, it was usually when the party was in a bad position and no one else was interested in offering themselves. But I felt that this was an opportunity to serve the party, but not serve myself. So I give you an example. Ambitious young men look for a seat, and I should say young people, whether men or women, ambitious people look for a safe seat. Look for a safe seat. So they don't have to worry about winning the election. They can worry about whatever their ambition is to achieve. When Michael Manley recruited me into the PNP, and I expressed an interest for a seat, and the seat was the seat that I born and grew in, Southeast Clarendon, a seat that was represented by Bustamante, a seat that was represented for 27 years by Hugh Shearer. Michael Manley knotted his brow. Why that seat? This is a seat that had never in history been won by the PNP. An ambitious young politician chose that seat. But I chose that seat because I remember growing up and hearing my father long for a PNP MP. What a wish he had. His whole life he never had a PNP MP down there. And I offered myself. I became the candidate at 29. I contested the election at 32. I was the youngest candidate in that batch. And Hugh Shearer was the oldest candidate in that batch at 67. And I not only brought it home for the first time, but we won it by over 15 or around 1,500 votes. First time PNP win. In fact, I think it was 1,454. I'm going to be accurate. That is not what ambitious people do. They go look for a safe seat. In 2007, when I came back into politics, I was recruited by Portia Simpson Miller to represent Southeast St. Ann, which was a safe PNP seat. Probably the safest rural seat for the PNP, built by Ivan Lloyd and Foggy Mullins. One morning, John Jr. find me at Mona Reservoir. And he stopped me and him say, yes, I hear you're coming back into politics, but anybody can win Southeast St. Ann for the PNP.
Here.
He says, if you don't come to central Manchester, we're going to lose. We do have a candidate it's a couple months to election, and we're 12 percentage points behind in the polls. Any politician who was driven by ambition would have gone to Southeast Centre, would not have come to Central Manchester. But I felt it was an opportunity to serve my party in a greater way in Central Manchester, because that may have made a difference in winning the election.
That's right.
And I came here, boy, and let me tell you, boy, I had to work. Comrade Baker, you remember? We walk night and day, morning, noon and night. Walk off a brand new shoes bottom. And we brought it home. And every single election since that, whether PNP win, lose, or draw, we increase our margin in Central Manchester, working to make it a safe seat for the PNP. In 2008, after being defeated in the general election in 2007, after losing most of the council seats in the local government election in December 2007, although in Manchester we took back our council. Danny Buchanan, of blessed memory, said it was time to step aside and allow somebody else to carry the torch. The party was at a low level, had to rebuild. We had traffic guru scandal behind us, just behind us. We had a lot of issues to work out. When I offered myself on the day of NEC, no one else stepped forward. No one else, uncontested. I was made General Secretary by acclamation. So I have up to today never had to contest for any position that I have held in the People's National Party. Never run against anyone else for one position, not even executive. So who want to say that his ambition driving this comrade can talk whatever they want, but there is no evidence to support that. Then when I became General Secretary in 2008, we went straight, almost directly, into a presidential contest.
What? There was a challenge?
We were establishing a new precedent in the PNP.
Yes.
It was the first time a sitting president was being challenged. And at the time, as General Secretary, I said, well, this is uncharted waters, but it is the evolution of our democracy.
Yes.
We can't say we're a democratic party. We contest elections democratically, but we're afraid of democracy internally. So my role as General Secretary was to be like Director of Elections and ensure a free and fair contest, which we had. At the end of the day, everyone had to accept the result because it was clear that the Secretariat had run a free and fair election. When some kind of draw back after that, and you know, Sister P was left alone. I don't know if they thought that the weight of the debt owed by the party, etc., would have brought it down. But I can tell you, there was a long time when without my checkbook, the light would have cut off at HQ. The phone would have cut off. 2008, that contest at Arena, when we got there, they wouldn't let us in because they said money had been owed from the previous year. It's my personal check for over $1 million was drawn to allow the contest to take place that day. These are things that I probably have not said before publicly.
Staff never used to get paid.
But if them want to face it with me, then I'm going to give them facts and tell them how it really goes. Or as Roger Clark would have said, now them going to find out how water walk pumpkin belly. So comrades, I just want to mash down that lie. The other thing I hear suddenly, with only a little over 3 years into a 5-year term, everybody is now saying, but elections are about to be called. And, you know, I don't know if in opposition we can call election. But I don't see any logic why an election is about to be called. And, you know, anything can happen. But I really don't buy that at this time. But an election will probably be called next year. And that is why it is all the more urgent for us to get ourselves in shape. That is why it is urgent for comrades to believe that we can win. Because if they don't believe we can win, it will become a self-fulfilling prophecy.
We can win with Bunting.
We will win.
Right now, whether or not there should be an internal election is a moot point. There is going to be one, and what I hope is that it will energize the base and inject the party with a sense of purpose to serve this country. The party, as Michael Manley would say, cannot just become a manager of a set of givens. This is the party that has to be the architect of change. This is the party that has to juke and prod the society to do better for poor people in this country. It is not enough to say that employment is increasing. Windscreen wiper or part-time vendor may be better than nothing, but that is not providing a livable wage to those people. Security guards and contract workers that are one sickness away from family catastrophe is not good enough. That's not what Michael Manley worked for in this country in the 70s. So we can't say that we're getting 1.5% growth and the debt to GDP come down and therefore we're satisfied. And boy, the economy are gone. No, comrades, that is not the People's National Party that I joined when I was still a teenager. That is not the party that I have spent my entire life serving. Me never joined a service club, you know. Me never joined nothing else. Me never joined a lodge. Me never joined nothing else but the People's National Party for my whole life. Deacon Fisher is here in the background saying, well-trained Roman Catholic. So, for me, this is the party that I have given all my public. This has been a vehicle. This party, this movement, because I don't think of this as just a political party. I think of the PNP as a powerful movement for change in this country for the last 80 years. And it is the vehicle that I have chosen to give my public service through. And it is the vehicle that I hope to be able to lead in a few months with your support. And comrades, let me just say, this is not a personal issue. I consider Dr. Phillips my friend. Before we came here this evening, we were at Richard Azan's birthday party, 55th birthday party. We were sitting together. I sat with Comrade Portia Sims-Miller, Comrade Dr. Phillips, all a set of us up there. We all cut cake together. There is no hostility or animus towards anybody in this move. In fact, I am insisting that everyone who supports me ensure that they treat comrades with only love and respect during the course of this campaign. And anyone who cannot observe that, then know, if you call yourself my supporter, I am going to denounce you. Because that is not what we're about. At the end of the day, come September, we must all rise united to go forward for victory in the next general election as one party, one movement, one set of comrades together. So comrades, I am not going to go any further in terms of that line this evening, because as I said, this is not a launch. It's merely coincidental that we're here at Knockpatrick. And I have two things left to do. The first is just to acknowledge that two good comrades, Comrade David Atkinson and Comrade Carl Smith, have offered themselves for candidate. And both of them stand up. And we want both of them to go out there and work and demonstrate what they're made of. And then there will be a selection conference later this year. And within Central Manchester, we have no problem with renewal through challenge. No problem at all. We lead by example. We lead by example. So I want to commend both these gentlemen to you. Carl, offering a hand of friendship. Come forward, come forward. Stand here, stand here. And I want to remind you that in this contest, you are opponents, not enemies, just opponents. And come the evening of the selection conference, you will be colleagues working together to bring back the Knockpatrick division into the fold of the People's National Party. Thank you. And now my final task is to introduce the guest speaker for this evening. And you know, I don't even know if he remembers, but when I was General Secretary, I think about 2009, 2010, we had a meeting with yourself and some other young professionals. And I was trying to recruit you. but you probably don't even remember because you didn't have that in your head at that time. You were president of the, what was the Junior Doctors Association? What they call it now? JMDA. And that was where he was giving his representation to. And so he wasn't even listening to me. I don't even think he remembers. But we had met at a social outreach, and I tried to recruit him and some other youngsters. But nothing before its time. And hands were laid on him relatively suddenly in 2017 to represent the PNP in Southeast St. Mary. And what I want to acknowledge is that it was an uphill task from day one. We're the only one the seat by 5 votes. In fact, we used to tease Dr. Green. We used to nickname him Lucky 5. Lucky 5 we call him, because he had won by 5. And when, after his untimely passing, we knew it was going to be difficult. And the GLP's candidate had continued working right through. So I want to acknowledge Shane because he didn't say, no, I will wait for a safe seat to come up. He stepped up to the plate knowing that it was going to be difficult. But what is even more impressive to me is that notwithstanding the disappointment, maybe not the surprise, but the disappointment of not winning, he has stayed with the people of Southeast St. Mary. He serves on the executive of the party, and what I like about him, he has an independent voice and an independent mind. Even though he's relatively new in the scheme of politics, he makes his opinion heard respectfully, and he will question others' opinion who are supposed to be long-serving comrades. He don't take anything for granted. And that is the type of young comrade we need in the People's National Party. So he's an accomplished doctor in his profession. He has led both the junior and the senior, the Medical Association of Jamaica. So he obviously has the respect of his peers in the medical profession. And now he has decided to expand his service beyond just medicine to give representation to the people of Southeast St. Mary. I want you to join me in welcoming a great young comrade, Dr. Shane Alexis, your guest speaker.
Dr. Patrick, wake up, man. Wake up. Want to see some signal? If you're a comrade for real, put up some signal, let me see. It no matter who you support, from your comrade in the People's National Party, let me see some signal. DJ, play some tune, make people and wake up and feel nice, please. No one can stop you. I don't want to be the man now. Anyway. Comrades all, Comrade Chairman, Comrade Mario Mitchell,